In this profound reflection on life, let us embark on a journey to discover how karma, the web of interconnected karma, shapes every event, encounter, and relationship. How can embracing this concept not only free us from the pressures of life, but also lead to true happiness? This story delves into timeless Buddhist wisdom combined with a modern perspective on mindfulness to reveal transformative lessons that can be applied in today's world. The fragility of human connections. In the ups and downs of life, we often cling to relationships or feelings, hoping that they will remain unchanged. But people change, and so do circumstances. One day, we may find ourselves separated from loved ones without warning. Through these separations, we learn that not everything is meant to last forever. Instead of suffering for what we cannot control, we must learn to appreciate each moment without attachment. A young man, burdened by his mother's disapproval, sought emotional freedom by severing their relationship. When he consulted a monk, the monk asked, "Can you erase the fact that she is a part of you, genetically and emotionally?" Realizing that separation begins from within, not from external separation, the young man learned to cultivate inner peace and unconditional acceptance. The power of letting go. In life, there are no guarantees. What we expect may not happen. The key is to let go of expectations and accept things as they are. When we stop hoping for special treatment or fair outcomes, we are freed from the burden of disappointment. Steve Jobs often spoke of his ability to see opportunity even in his failures. He believed that failures in life provide lessons that allow us to grow if we change our mindset to embrace them. Health is the greatest wealth. Many people neglect their health until it deteriorates. Only when illness strikes do they realize that happiness is irreplaceable. Prevention is better than cure, but maintaining a balanced lifestyle requires discipline. A corporate executive, after surviving a heart attack, quit his stressful job to focus on yoga and family. He remarked, "What's the point of pursuing wealth if your body can't enjoy it?" His story reminds us to take care of ourselves before it's too late. Liberation through forgiveness. Forgiveness is not excusing someone's behavior, but freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. Holding on to resentment only leads to inner chaos, while forgiveness opens the door to peace. Nelson Mandela, after years of imprisonment, chose to forgive his captors rather than seek revenge. His act of forgiveness not only freed his spirit, but also became a symbol of reconciliation for a divided nation. In this fast-paced world, we often miss the joy found in simplicity. Mindfulness teaches us to slow down and appreciate the small moments, whether it's the smell of morning coffee or the rustling of leaves in the wind. One rainy afternoon, I saw two ants struggling to carry a piece of bread. I gently moved the bread closer to their nest. The joy in their tiny movements reminded me that even small acts of kindness can bring profound happiness. When we observe the precepts, we are sowing seeds of virtue for ourselves and the world. The precepts are the foundation, but the Buddha taught that from ethics, we cultivate samadhi, the concentration and tranquility of the mind. Once the mind is calm and stable, wisdom arises. This wisdom is not ordinary knowledge, but a deep understanding of the true nature of life, suffering, and the path to liberation. Ethics are not an obligation, but a path to freedom. When we observe the precepts, we free ourselves from the bonds of greed, anger, and delusion. Every time we refrain from breaking a precept, we are exercising self-control, not allowing desires and emotions to dominate us. Gradually, we transcend the attachments of worldly life, moving closer to true liberation. The precepts lead to concentration, and concentration leads to wisdom. Only when the mind is stable, no longer disturbed by emotions, can we see the truth. We can clearly understand the causes and conditions behind everything, and from that wisdom, we can act righteously and with clarity. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. May all sentient beings be nourished by Buddhist ethics, transcend suffering, and attain supreme peace. This prayer is not just a wish, but also an awakening in each of us of compassion and responsibility for all living beings in this world. When we pray for all living beings to be imbued with Buddhist ethics, we are opening our hearts to life, to the suffering of all beings, regardless of race, class, religion, or circumstances. Buddhist ethics are not rigid rules, but a path that leads us to liberation from suffering. Suffering does not only come from external events, but also from the karma within our own souls. When we maintain morality, we are making our souls pure and clean, and that is the first step to overcoming the suffering caused by greed, anger, and delusion. However, the suffering of living beings does not only come from their own karma, but also from ignorance, from the pervasive ignorance. Buddhist ethics teaches us that ignorance is the root of all suffering. When we do not understand the true nature of life, when we pursue desires and lusts, when we let greed, anger, and delusion control our lives, we are creating suffering for ourselves and for others. That is why the Buddha taught that only wisdom can dispel the darkness of ignorance. This wisdom is not intelligence, understanding of the world, but a deep understanding of cause and effect, of dependent origination, of suffering, and the path leading to the end of suffering. Wisdom cannot be achieved without morality as a foundation. A mind that is not trained through compassion for living beings, will not be able to see clearly the nature of life, cannot understand the deep causes that lead to suffering. When we pray for all living beings to be imbued with Buddhist ethics, we are not only directing our minds toward a better future for all species, but also reminding ourselves to live in accordance with those moral values. It is not just prayers, but also practical actions, efforts in every thought, word, and deed every day. Maintaining morality in life is a continuous practice. It is not a dry set of rules or restrictions on personal freedom. On the contrary, Buddhist morality is the path to true freedom. Freedom here is not freedom from external constraints, but freedom from the constraints within our own souls, attachments, ego, negative emotions such as anger, hatred, and greed. When we keep the precept of not killing, it is not just about not killing. This precept reminds us to always cultivate compassion, love, and respect the lives of all living beings. Every living being has its own value and has the right to live and develop. When we respect the lives of others, we are also protecting our own lives. Because in the cycle of cause and effect, what we do to others will reflect back to us. If we sow the seeds of violence and hatred, we will have to reap the suffering from those actions. The same is true of the precept against stealing. When we take what does not belong to us, we are causing injustice, creating bad karma for ourselves, and damaging social relationships. The Buddha taught us to live with honesty, respecting the property and rights of others. When we live honestly, not only material wealth, but also the trust and affection of people around us will be gained. The world around us will also be protected and developed. The Buddha taught that true wealth does not lie in material things, but in peace of mind. When we are not greedy, not taking things that do not belong to us, we are creating a peaceful, happy life, not bound by endless desires. In Buddhism, greed is not limited to material things, but also to invisible desires such as fame, power, and affection. When we practice the precept of not committing adultery, we are maintaining purity in relationships, not harming others for personal desires, living with purpose and gratitude. Living without purpose is like sailing without a compass. It leads to aimlessness. Purpose gives direction, but gratitude fills the journey with meaning. When we cultivate gratitude, even the smallest moments become precious. An old man, despite losing everything in a natural disaster, expressed gratitude for the friends and family who remained by his side. "As long as I have them," he said, "I have everything I need." His words reflect the profound truth that life's greatest treasures are not material possessions, but the people and experiences we cherish. Silence, the greatest teacher. In silence, we encounter truths that words often obscure. Practicing silence allows us to listen deeply to ourselves and others, cultivating self-awareness and wisdom. The 15-Day Silence Challenge. A king once challenged his proposal to be silent for 15 days, observing life without comment. At the end of the challenge, they realized that much of their talking was unnecessary. Many of the issues they had discussed earlier resolved themselves without intervention. Silence taught them to trust the natural flow of life. Forgiveness as a tool for freedom. Forgiveness is not condoning hurtful actions, but freeing yourself from the emotional burden of resentment. Holding on to anger is like carrying a burning coal. It only hurts the person holding it. A personal experience. A man shares his journey of forgiving the friend who kidnapped him. For years, he carried bitterness inside him, which affected every aspect of his life. When he finally forgave his friend, he described the experience as a weight lifted from his soul, allowing him to live freely again. Forgiveness benefits the forgiver more than the forgiven. It is a gift we give ourselves. The art of being present. The past cannot be changed, and the future is uncertain. What we truly have is the present moment. By being fully present, we unlock the beauty of life and deepen our relationships with those around us. A father, always busy with work, once missed his son's school performance. The disappointment on his son's face made him realize that being present was more important than any professional accomplishment. From that moment on, he prioritized being fully present whenever he was with his family. Living in the present allows us to enjoy the fleeting moments of life, making each moment count, finding peace in uncertainty. Life is full of uncertainty, but peace comes from accepting what we cannot control. Instead of resisting the unpredictability of life, we can learn to trust that everything will turn out as it should. A Buddhist teaching. Buddhist monks often reflect on the impermanence of all things, knowing that both joy and sadness will pass. They remind us that, just as the storm eventually gives way to the sun, so too will every difficult period end. Embracing life's journey with compassion and grace. At the core of life's challenges are opportunities for growth and transformation. When we accept the impermanence of life, practice forgiveness, and live mindfully, we discover that happiness is not a destination, but a way of being. By cultivating empathy, embracing simplicity, and being present, we tune into the natural rhythms of life, finding peace in the midst of chaos. Every moment is a gift, whether it brings joy or sorrow. What matters is not what happens to us, but how we respond. Life is a journey of discovery, and every experience, good or bad, serves as a stepping stone toward greater wisdom and compassion. Let us walk this journey with open hearts, cherishing each moment and spreading kindness wherever we go. In doing so, we not only transform our own lives, but also contribute to a more compassionate world.